Now, tell me, what comes instantly to your mind when I say love? Is it the name of your boyfriend, girlfriend, Valentine's Day, chocolate, money, food? Now think further and further and tell me, did the word mother come to your mind? Tell me how many of you thought of your mother. For most of us, especially teenagers, we think a mother is someone who constantly nags us, telling us to clean dishes, telling us to do homework, but we actually never realize how precious, how priceless a mother's love, mother's devotion actually is. I didn't realize it until I turned 16. Allow me to explain by traveling back in time. My mother is Russian, and my father is Indian. My dad went for university to Russia. That's where he met my mom, fell in love, got married. After 8 years, I was born. Typical fairy tale. As I said, I was born in Russia, and I lived there for about 6 years before things took a turn. My mother and father got divorced. So my mom was financially unstable at that time. She couldn't take care of me. So what she did, she gave my custody to my father. So when my dad's education was over, I had to move with him from Russia to India. When the day came to leave, I was not able to understand what was going on around me. I was too young at that time. I didn't know why my dad was packing bags. I didn't know why my mom was crying and hugging me so hard. When we reached the airport, my mom was just continuously crying and said to me, "My heart, I will take you soon. I'll come back and I'll take you soon." Few hours later, on the same day, we reached Delhi. And when the doors opened and I stepped out, I felt like I was in the microwave oven. Literally, no exaggeration, it was that hot, you could fry eggs on the sidewalk. And just like the scorching heat, the seriousness of the situation was just hitting me. We took a train where my dad's family used to live in India, Bikaner. Up until this point, Delhi was tolerable. But Bikaner was a culture shock. For those of you who do not know, Bikaner is a very rural desert town in the northern parts of India. Can anyone here guess what's the first thing I saw when I reached Bikaner? A cow. And not just a cow, not just a cow. A lot of cows. As you can imagine, Bikaner wasn't the place I was used to. And without my mother there, I felt like I was incomplete. But days started to pass, and I grew comfortable to that place. And by the time I got used to it, I was uprooted once again, and this time to Jaipur. So after about 2 years, we moved to Jaipur. Jaipur was a great place. If you want to compare it with Bikaner, it was an amazing place. It had pretty good infrastructure, whereas Bikaner didn't have any infrastructure. I was so disconnected from what my family was, from my family. But being in a large city like Jaipur helped me. My dad remarried there, and my mom, at the same time, got an offer to UAE and started working. She moved from Russia to work here. As I said, I was in Jaipur. People there in Jaipur were so friendly. They were so kind. They loved to enjoy every moment of their life. But they were, however, very, very competitive And being an impressionable young girl, I had trouble into buying the whole doctor versus engineering dilemma. I chose doctor, by the way. Even in school, I was seen as a foreigner. People used to call me, ooh, that Russian girl, ooh, that Russian bomb. And having my mother at that time would have helped me figure out myself. But days started to pass, and by the time I turned 12 years old, I hadn't seen my mom for 6 years. Our only contact was through phone calls, and sometimes she didn't even have enough to call me. And the awful part was that I hated her. I hated her from all my heart. Her absence made me believe that she doesn't want me. Living with my dad gave me his perspectives. And I actually never knew her side of the story. Whenever she called me on phone, she would just cry and say, Mama, I love you. I'll take you back soon. You do not deserve to be away from your mother. I was never nice to her. Despite the time or distance, despite the fact that I was never nice to her, it didn't change anything, what she felt for me. But by 15, I began to feel for my mother. I started realizing her reasons for doing what she did. She tried a lot all those years to take me back. But my dad became so strict, and he became so overprotective and made sure I do not talk to her. Even though people say that it's what he did was wrong, but I would never blame him for that. He knew I was growing up. He knew I will make a choice between him and her. And he wanted my choice to be him. How can I blame him for that? How can I blame him for that? When my mom, by the time I turned 16 years old. I became adult according to Russian laws. And that time, I decided to meet my mom. Because when I was 15 years old, she sent me requests on Facebook, and I rejected. Twice. I even blocked her. But she made a new account immediately. And every day, without fail, messaged me. And in that 1 year, she convinced me to meet her. By 16, I became adult according to Russian laws, and I decided to meet her. When I said this to my dad, he was greatly upset. But he couldn't do anything this time because I am an adult and I'm free to do so. My mom came to India, and when I saw her first time, after 9 years of separation, she was just restlessly pacing around the entrance of the hotel, waiting for me. The moment I saw her, all those years of anger just vanished. The moment I got out of the car, I started crying, and I ran, and I hugged her. All those years, she was just a stranger for me, whom I hated. But there was a connection at that time which I cannot explain. And this is always the connection we cannot explain. I lived with her 7 days in that hotel, and those 7 days were the best of my life. And when she was leaving back to UAE, this time I held her hand. I begged her, Mama, take me back with you. And she said to me, baby, you have been waiting for me for 9 years now. Wait for me for a few months more. It was really hard for her to take me back. But she did it. She did it. She could have chosen to walk away from me. I was living in a different country. I even disliked her. But she never stopped fighting for me. She never stopped fighting for me. Today, she is here with me. And I'm not trying to say that my dad and I do not love each other. I love him a lot, and I'm so grateful that he cares for me. But a mother is a person who can take place of all the others, but whose place no one else can take. And being away from her made me realize how much she means to me. And I wouldn't have learned that gratitude otherwise. So today, I urge you, to all of you sitting here, to never take your mother's deep love and concern for granted. Thank you.